Kayo Wachane, Pumiske Oak, Niktad Nukwe, Nepe Wanishi. Welcome, everyone. I am Chairman Francis Gray of the Piscataway Conoy Tribe. To my elders and ancestors who have walked in front of me, I thank you. Today I find myself into a space that has me reflecting of our past and pondering our future, giving also a hint of confliction of this celebration. This country is in full-blown mode of celebrating its 250th anniversary, bringing with it a foundational premise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I've taken these three and separated them and mainly focus on today, liberty, to which this sapling here today is known for. Liberty to live and to act without arbitrary interference or tyranny. To me, as a Piscataway, liberty is the basic foundation of being free. Free from a tribal perspective is to live under a process of self-determination. The ancestors of this sapling provided a space, the idea for one to exercise their voice. The symbolic nature of being under this majestic tree still resonates in our governing structures. As simple as this may sound, it is also extremely complex. Multitudes of perspective, along with historical context. From a Piscataway perspective, the ancestors of this sapling, we know as our elders. They are the oldest living species here on earth. They rise from Mother Earth and they reach towards the heavens. The Creator has extended them to us. We are grateful and honored this child of our elders will always remind us of what it actually truly stands for. It has given to us, as Piscataway people, itself. Its bark covered our longhouses. Its body provided the resources for our dugout canoes. And a reminder, each and every spring, the beautiful tulips that fall from its tops, reminding us that after a long winter, a rebirth, spring is here. this sapling will carry on this natural process. However, for its survival, for our survival, we must ensure that it's respected and nurtured symbolically and physically. So as I conclude here, I would like to thank Mother Earth for all that she has given us, for her to remind us to never take more than we need, and explicitly for her to remind us to always give back more than we take. Wanishi, thank you.
Good morning. Hello and welcome. My name is Melissa Coburn and I'm the superintendent here at Thomas Stone National Historic Site, and it is my pleasure to welcome you here today as we gather to celebrate the next chapter of the Southern Maryland National Heritage Area and dedicate the Maryland Liberty Tree. I'd like to begin by acknowledging our distinguished guest, Mr. Francis Gray, Chairman of the Piscataway Conoy Tribe. United States Senator Chris Van Hollen. And Alan Spears, Senior Director of Cultural Resources for the National Parks and Conservation Association. Among the many sites that help tell the stories of the Southern Maryland National Heritage Area, those stories that are rich in history, culture, and landscapes that continue to illuminate America's earliest chapters. Thomas Stone National Historic Site holds a special place. Thomas Stone wasn't a firebrand patriot whose words and actions demanded attention. He was a quiet force who championed liberty and humility with purpose. And his quiet courage is an important reminder that independence wasn't solely achieved by liberty's loudest voices. It was strengthened just as profoundly by those whose steady resolve shaped the course of our nation in subtle but no less consequential ways. Here at his home, we have an opportunity to connect with his day-to-day life in both the uncertainty and resolve of 1776. As part of the Southern Maryland National Heritage Area, this site anchors the region's broader narrative within the nation's struggle for independence and civic identity, reminding us that independence was achieved by real people making extraordinary choices. As we approach the 250th anniversary of the founding of our country, we gather here at an especially meaningful time, a time to reflect on how far we've come, how far we still have to go, and how our shared history can inform the future we choose to build together. Today's dedication of the Liberty Tree carries special meaning in that context. By planting a Liberty Tree here at the home of a signer of the Declaration of Independence, we reaffirm that liberty is not a static achievement. It's a living promise, a promise that must be nourished, protected, and passed on. Once again, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today as we celebrate Southern Maryland's history, heritage, and future. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director for the Southern Maryland National Heritage Area. Please join me in welcoming Lucille Walker.
Thank you all. It means so much to see you all today. I want to start by thanking Chairman Gray for welcoming us to his ancestral lands. I'd like to thank Superintendent Coburn for welcoming us to National Park Service lands. And it is now my distinct pleasure to welcome you again to the lands of the Southern Maryland National Heritage Area, your heritage area. We are this glorious peninsula with over 1,000 miles of shoreline in the counties of Calvert, Charles, St. Mary's, and Southern Prince George's. This land, these waters, these people, these stories have shaped our nation, and that is what is required to become a National Heritage Area. This National Heritage Area represents America in all of its complexity. This region has seen freedoms gained, freedoms lost, freedoms fought for. This region has a story to tell. We have so many firsts, and I have promised to be brief. So that's why you have that wonderful master plan preview that you can look through and see the number of firsts and themes that I'm not going to address right now so that we can get to a very important couple of speakers following me. But I do have to mention one. It is on this obscure peninsula, tucked away in the 1600s, obscure to the Western world, not obscure to the people already here, that the first time any type of religious freedom was ever put into law, it was here in Southern Maryland, that basic human right. That's vital to the story today. And as Chairman Gray notes, it came at a cost to some, advantage for some, not for all, and that's our story too. We exist today because of your efforts. This is a thank you tour, and I'll try to make it brief. Many hands went into all the meetings, discussions, exchanges, research, brainstorming, coming togethers that made all this possible. Becoming a National Heritage Area is hard. There are only 62 in the entire United States, and it required the support of all of our local, state, and federal partners. It literally took an act of Congress. And I will be introducing a leader in that effort in just a moment. The Southern Maryland National Heritage Area was designated by the U.S. Congress in December 2022, and it was notably a very bipartisan initiative, which I think is important to note. It was signed into law by President Biden in January of 2023, and we launched with style this heritage area in Piscataway Park, May 2023. Many of you were there. So good to see so many of you again today. And now here we are, 3 years later, with a preview of our master plan for your review. As our nation approaches the 250th anniversary of its founding, the Southern Maryland National Heritage Area Plan comes at a particularly important moment for the nation and for the state of Maryland, which began on these shores in 1634, and please remember, it's only 8 years away. The master plan is a roadmap for the work ahead, and we look forward to all of your input because it's your plan. It's literally your plan, and we'll need to hear from you. The preview you see today is something that you can kind of get a taste of, but we will have the full plan for your review soon. We're doing it here at the Thomas Stone National Historic Site to also celebrate a remarkable historic partnership between the National Park Service and this new National Heritage Area. A powerhouse steering committee was formed following the congressional designation to guide the work of this master plan, and they represent the steering committee, 32 people. They represent a number of organizations and perspectives throughout our region. I would like the steering committee members to please stand, those that can make it today, and be recognized for your incredible hard work for 3 years. This is your plan. Thank you. Thank you. And we've been hard at work doing a number of things. The Maryland Liberty Tree Project's one of them, and there's a whole bunch of others as well. But we've also formed a nonprofit to serve this region. And we have an interim board. And it's a small interim board, but I would like my members of this interim board to also stand and be recognized. Stand, get up there. And I know we have a number of our local folks have joined us today from the county commissioners here in Charles. I believe our president of the commissioners is here, and Commissioner Patterson. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. I also know Senator Ellis had hoped to come, but I am not seeing him in the crowd at the moment. And we also have so many presidents, CEOs, leaders of organizations and communities. And I also know that Senator Alsterbrook was going to send some of her people today for this celebration. We also need to thank our very important partner organization, the Tri-County Council for Southern Maryland. John, you can stand. I told him I was going to do that. He didn't believe me. And a shout out to all of our people over here in Partners Row who came at 6:30, 7:30 this morning to set up and bring you information about our region. Thank you, Partners Row. And what would a celebration be on a beautiful day without music? My goodness. Thank you so much to the Carthen Ellington Quartet and David and Ginger Hildebrand. Thank you all so much. And you know we never do anything without food. So thank you, Dreamweavers, again, for providing wonderful refreshments. And to our event support staff at Hatcher, we couldn't do it without them. Thank you. Now, I told you it was a thank you tour. We are a national heritage area, not a national history area. We are a bridge. History, by its very nature, has happened. It's in the past. It's vital to everything we do. It's fundamental to everything we do. We have to learn from it, understand it, sometimes correct it. Heritage brings that history forward into the present and into the future. It's our dance, song, food, music, art, museums, shorelines, farms, barns, language, sacred places. It's who we are. It is a living part of us all. So the biggest thank you is to all of you for being on this journey with us. Thank you. Now, enough of me. It is my very great honor to introduce Senator Chris Van Hollen, our senior United States Senator, known to be a champion for Maryland and for legislation that protects the Chesapeake Bay, the disabled, health and scientific research funding, reforming campaign finance and protecting intellectual property, and of course, a champion of our national heritage area. We are so grateful he's here today. As I mentioned, it took an act of Congress to make this happen, and it was through the efforts of Senator Chris Van Hollen, Senator Ben Cardin, Congressman and then Leader Hoyer, to create and shepherd that legislation, and that legislation that was part of the National Heritage Area Act of 2022. That's right. Not only that, but Senator Van Hollen and Team Maryland have been vital to securing the federal funding that goes with that designation. And we all know, right now, particularly, that is not an easy task. So please, hands together for the man who made it happen, Senator Chris Van Hollen. My pleasure.
Well, thank you, Lucille. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your passion. Thank you and your team for all you did to help bring us here today. Let's give another round of applause to the great Executive Lucille. I have to tell you, it is great to get off of Capitol Hill for a little while, and it's especially great to be able to join all of you on this very, very special occasion. As we approach America's 250th anniversary, we gather here at the site of Thomas Stone's home, the Thomas Stone National Historic Site, home to one of Maryland's founding fathers, one of 4 Marylanders to sign the Declaration of Independence and the only Marylander from Southern Maryland. And we gather here and also will be dedicating the Liberty Tree in recognition of that Declaration of Independence. As has been said, this site and this whole region is home to a very important part of not just Maryland's history, but really of American history. As Chief Gray reminded us, and thank you for your words of wisdom, and thank you for your leadership, long before this was the home of Thomas Stone, it was the ancestral land of the Piscataway tribes. And together we reflect on all of Maryland's rich history while celebrating this important milestone for Southern Maryland as we look ahead to a bright future together. Telling the stories of the past is important to inform the future, and it's also important to share those stories by bringing people here to Southern Maryland, not just from across our state, but from all over the country. And today, we are unveiling the roadmap for preserving and sharing the historic, the cultural, and natural resources that make Southern Maryland one of the most remarkable places in our entire country. And I want to salute everybody who helped bring us to this moment and everybody who's helping to implement this vision going forward. And starting once again by thanking Lucille Walker, the Executive Director of Southern Maryland Heritage Area, and her entire team. Thank you and your entire team. She said, thank you, team. Thank you, entire team. And it does, of course, require everybody coming together. To Melissa Coburn, and who's the superintendent here at Thomas Stone Historic Site, thank you for your leadership and the important work that the Park Service does here across our state and across the country. As was said by an American president, Teddy Roosevelt, a long time ago, America's best idea, the national parks. Thank you all very much for your work here and around the country. Let's give our National Park Service folks a big round of applause. To Alan Spears, and I want to thank you for being here today and for all your work here, but even on the broader canvas, thank you to the National Parks Conservation Alliance for all that you do. Let's give it up for them because they play an essential role here and across the country. And to Chief Francis Gray and the Piscataway-Conway tribe, thank you for carrying on the tradition of the Piscataway and always making sure we understand that before the colonists arrived here in Southern Maryland at St. Mary's, this was and does remain the home of the Piscataway people. Thank you for all your efforts. I do also want to thank, and Lucille mentioned, the Tri-County Council, who've been an integral part of all of this, the Rural Maryland Council, to our state and local officials who have also been an important part of the journey that brought us here today and will be essential to continuing the story. It is great to see good friends of mine, Reuben Collins. Thank you for being a great president of the commissioners, the Board of Commissioners. And to you, Ralph Patterson, let's give them both another round of applause. And I don't know if, as you said, State Senator Arthur Ellis will be here, but he's also been part of this team along with others. Lucille mentioned how this National Heritage Designation began for Southern Maryland. And I was proud to join with Ben Cardin and with Congressman Steny Hoyer to introduce this legislation. And I do want to thank them for the essential role they played also in bringing us here today. Because, as Lucille said, it required navigating the turbulent and choppy waters of the United States Congress. But in the end of the day, this was something where people came together as Americans to say that this place in Southern Maryland deserves this important designation. And so the bill was signed into law by President Biden in January of 2023, establishing the Southern Maryland National Heritage Area. That was a very important milestone on this journey that we're on. Now, of course, every tree needs watering in order to grow. And as Lucille said, we are determined to continue to provide the resources to make sure that this story is told in the right way and that we share it with our fellow Americans. And I happen to serve on the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee of the Interior and the Environment that provides funding for the national parks and the national heritage areas. And I can tell you I'm committed to trying to make sure that we sustain this funding. We were successful just this year of more than tripling the federal funding that goes to the Southern Maryland Heritage Foundation from $48,000 a year to $150,000 in this year's budget. And look forward to continuing to work with you to sustain those funding levels and see what we can do to grow them over time, because those dollars are obviously vital to making sure that we have the planning, the education, the tourism initiatives that we need in order to make sure that we tell this story in the right way. And all of you know the story, at least all of you know parts of it. You're the people who have brought us to this moment. But I do think it bears reminding of some of the really important milestones, not just for Maryland history, but American history, that have taken place here in Southern Maryland. It was the home of the Piscataway before the colonists arrived from England. But the story of colonial Maryland did begin here in Southern Maryland. Historic St. Mary's City served as the seat of colonial government, and it became the site where religious freedom was first codified in Maryland through the Toleration Act of 1649. And that act, early in Maryland's colonial history, was a key step toward including and ensconcing and enshrining the First Amendment in the Constitution of the United States. A lot of that first codification really happened right here. Obviously, Thomas Jefferson was a champion of religious liberty and freedom of speech, but the earliest effort to pass that into a law happened right here. And so Marylanders can be very proud of that important part of our history. It's also home to stories of democratic participation and civic courage. This is where Margaret Brent made her historic petition for voting rights in 1648. Again, another journey that took too long, but began right here in Southern Maryland. It's where Matthias D'Souza became the first person of African descent known to serve in a legislative body in what would become the United States of America, whose birthday we celebrate on July 4th. And as our gathering here at this place testifies to, it was the home of Thomas Stone, one of 4 Maryland signers of the Declaration of Independence. These landscapes tell those stories and more. They tell difficult but essential stories of slavery, resilience, and the ongoing pursuit of justice. Sites throughout Southern Maryland allow us to confront the realities of our past while honoring those whose lives and contributions helped shape our nation. At a moment when people in the highest office of the land seek to erase, edit, and whitewash parts of our history that they find inconvenient, places like this matter more than ever to tell the whole story. And so let's commit that as we approach the 250th anniversary of the independence of the United States, we each take on the responsibility not to rewrite the American story, but to tell it fully and honestly, both the good and the bad. It's only by telling it honestly that we can learn from our past to build a more perfect union together. That is why the work you're doing here is so important. These sites will ensure that current generations and future generations inherit not a simplified, cartoonish version of our history, but but a richer and more complete understanding of the people, the events, and struggles that shaped our nation, the complex, full picture of our history. A history that spans centuries, from indigenous communities that stewarded these lands long before European settlement, to the colonial era, the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Civil War, and the World Wars of the 20th century. All of those stories can be found here in Southern Maryland, which is why we were successful at making this a national heritage area. And this region's importance, of course, is not limited to the past. Southern Maryland, because of all of you and leaders and our work together, is continuing to contribute in a major way to our nation's future through scientific research, through innovation, through environmental stewardship, military service, and economic development. Each of these places tells part of the Southern Maryland story, and together they create a landscape unlike any other in the United States. Establishing this region as a national heritage area has also brought together local communities, state governments, nonprofit organizations, the National Park Service, while also strengthening educational opportunities, promoting tourism, and driving economic growth by attracting visitors who want to experience authentic local history and culture that reflects on the national story of our country. And I again want to thank all of the historians and folks who really dug deep to find the treasures that tell this important story, because they help communities preserve what makes us special, preserve what makes Southern Maryland special, while creating new opportunities for future generations. Every generation inherits a responsibility from those who came before us. We are the temporary caretakers of the places, the stories, and the traditions that define our communities, and it is up to us to preserve those places and pass them on stronger than we found them. Looking around this area, under this tent and beyond, at Southern Maryland and everyone gathered here, I'm confident that you are good custodians of that story, to tell the past, to pass it on to future generations in a way that will strengthen this entire region. Today, with the master plan being unveiled, you are ensuring that Southern Maryland's story will continue to be told for generations to come, and that people will see it as a vital part of the overall American story. So thank you all. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for the work that you've done that brings us to this moment. And thank you for the work that you will continue to do to tell this story, not just to reflect on the past, but because that past is such an important foundation to the future. And the future is bright for Southern Maryland. Thank you all very much for all you did to bring us to this day. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Truly, when you say you could not have done something without someone, this is the case. So we are so appreciative of you here today. It's also my great pleasure to welcome our next speaker, a friend of National Heritage Areas and of the Alliance of National Heritage Areas, of which we are a part. Mr. Spears is the Senior Director for Cultural Resources for the National Parks Conservation Association, which is a 501c3 advocacy organization whose mission is literally to protect national parks for future generations. You can see why we asked him here today. As an advocate, Mr. Spears has led campaigns to support the National Park Service's Underground Railroad Network to Freedom program and to establish the Birmingham Civil Rights and Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley National Monuments. Mr. Spear has been an advocate for the National Parks Conservation Association for 27 years. Please welcome Mr. Spears.
Well, hello, everybody. It's great to see everybody here. The first business that we've got to take care of is I've got to thank the Park Service for the breeze.
Yes.
I'm grateful you ordered that. Grateful that you ordered that. In 1869, Frederick Douglass, another son of Maryland, proclaimed, "We are a country of all extremes, ends, and opposites, the most conspicuous example of composite nationality in the world." You can see that reflected here in the audience. You can see it reflected in our times. We commemorate Juneteenth this weekend. We are heading towards the 250th anniversary of America's independence from Great Britain. Everything converges when it comes to the history and culture in this country, and we thank our hosts for allowing us to be here in this moment. Unfortunately, the diversity that Mr. Douglass extolled back in 1869 is now under attack by people who think that our greatest strength is actually our greatest weakness, and that it has to be excised almost like a cancer. And steps are being taken to erase or censor American history. And that's why, as previous speakers have said, the Southern Maryland National Heritage Area, all national heritage areas, and our national parks, and the people who work to protect and preserve these resources are more important now than they have ever been before. Let me stop for a moment, and just on a personal note, I want to thank the National Park Service staff that are here. It's great to see you in numbers. And for folks that are in the audience, you see anybody with a little gold name tag? You see anybody with the flat hat, the gray shirt, the green pants? I guess maybe it's cold and flu season, summer flu season. We've still got COVID. I don't know if they're huggers, but give them a fist bump. Do something to make sure you let them know how important the work that they do, how important their presence here is today. Make sure they know. Make sure they know. Listen, this is heritage areas at their best. This is the Park Service at their best, reflecting on Mr. Douglass's composite nation idea, bringing us together. We have a long, difficult sometimes, beautiful sometimes history. Our story is complex. Let it be complex, because we as Americans have the ability to walk, chew gum, and think difficult thoughts all at the same time. We don't need anything erased. We can handle the truth. Lucille, I'm very proud of what you've been able to accomplish here. I'm looking forward to continue working with you. Senator Van Hollen, your leadership has been exemplary, and you are a stalwart for our public lands and national parks. And on behalf of our 1.3 million members and supporters at NPC, I just want to extend our great thanks to you for everything that you've done. That's it from me. Have a great time. Thank you.
We have the best people. We have the best speakers. We're going to change a little bit now. We're going to be concluding one section of our program and moving into the next section. And as we conclude, as you look at the overview of the master plan, you'll see a QR code. Our master plan is under technical review, which is required by the National Park Service before we can release it to the public. But as soon as we can release it to you, it will be released. We will be sending out the press release. But this gives you an overview and an idea of the direction. And we cannot wait to hear your input as we progress. As we reflect on what liberty means in America today, we're also very proud to be a partner of the Maryland Liberty Tree Project. I would like all the partners of the Maryland Liberty Tree Project to come forward. We have the president and CEO of the Maryland Center for History and Culture. Please come forward if you don't mind just standing here. I promise I won't make you unveil anything yet. A representative of the Maryland 250 Commission. Do we have a representative here from Maryland Department of Natural Resources? I know some people were concerned about the weather, and they may not have been. Oh, good. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. Deputy Director, am I correct? Are you Deputy Secretary? I'm sorry. I'm winging it. We also have representatives from the Maryland Heritage Area Coalition. Two of our Heritage Area Directors, at least two of them, I think. Yes. All right. Meg Bacco from Anacostia Trails, and Jane Fox is coming from Chesapeake Crossroads. We are both a state and national heritage area, and a shout out to the State Heritage Area program. Maryland is only one of 2 states in the nation with a state heritage area program, and it helped provide our foundation. And we have a representative from the Maryland 250 Commission. If you can come up. Oh, I already called you. Okay. I'm just all excited. And we also do want to note Preservation Maryland, who was not able to join us today, a very important partner. Just a quick dose of history so you know what we're talking about when we say a liberty tree, that it's not just this abstract concept. During the Revolution in Boston, there was a big tree, and they called it the Liberty Tree. And people met under it to discuss the cause, which is what they called the Revolution. So when the British invaded Boston, they cut down the tree, they ground it up, and they would try to quell the rebellion. Didn't work. The other colonies chose big trees to meet under, and Maryland chose a tulip poplar. And Maryland was the last colony at that time, state, to have a living liberty tree. It fell in 1999 with Hurricane Earl, but Maryland and the Department of Natural Resources and the foresters, big shout out, had the foresight to do exact DNA replicas of that tree before it died. So this project is planting actual liberty trees in all 23 counties of Maryland and the city of Baltimore, no small feat. And when you hear of people planting a liberty tree, if it's a true liberty tree, only Maryland has a liberty tree. So it's Maryland's liberty tree. Do you hear that, Virginia? Okay. Okay. So we launched on Maryland Day, March 25th in Annapolis. And I think one of the aspects, and it's been touched on today, in a time when life can feel increasingly divided, this project, this Liberty Tree, Maryland Liberty Tree project, offers something different. It's a chance to come together, and it serves as a reminder that the ideals associated with liberty are not fixed in the past, but are continuing to evolve, and we need to nurture them. We've all talked about that today. And I appreciate Chairman Gray addressing this as well, that like liberty itself, a tree cannot thrive without attention, nurture, care, protection. And I love the idea, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 400 years from now, this little charming sapling we're about to unveil the plaque of will be huge and will shelter wide shoulders of men and women in the future. It's a wonderful project. So I'm going to conclude this portion of our program because we're going to process to the Liberty Tree to unveil the plaque. You're welcome to be part of it, watch it. I'm going to call and direct this for just a second. And we also want to make sure you know there are tours that are about to start of this historic home by the National Park Service. There's more food now. You had breakfast, now it's lunch. There's gorgeous music that's going to be played. And on that particular note, I would like to ask David and Ginger Hildebrand to come up. They're going to sing a historic song called The Liberty Tree. Oh, or just stay where they are, because they're all mic'd. They were like, wait, what? So they're going to start singing that in just a moment. I will direct you 1 second. If we could have the Sons of the American Revolution, the Thomas Stone chapter, please come up. Thank you so much. And if you could, you're going to be leading us. And we're going to ask if it's all right for Mr. Spears, Senator Van Hollen, for Superintendent Coburn, for Chairman Gray, for all of our partners, also Senate President Collins, Commissioner Ralph Patterson. It's the heat. You know I know you. We're all going to pull back the Maryland flag on the plaque. And so feel free to be part of that, everyone. We're just going to process now once the Hildebrands have started their beautiful music. Thank you all for coming today. It's meant the world to all of us. Thank you. Bravo you.
In a chariot of light from the regions of day, the goddess of liberty came. In a chariot of light from the regions of day, the goddess of liberty came. 10,000 celestials directed the way, and thither conducted the dame. This fair budding branch from the garden above, where millions with millions agree, she brought in her hand as a pledge of her love the plant she called Liberty Tree. This celestial exotic struck deep in the ground, like a native it flourished and bore. The fame of its fruit drew the nations around to seek out its peaceable shore. Unmindful of names or distinction they came, for free men like brothers agree. With one spirit endowed they one friendship pursued, and their temple was Liberty Tree. Beneath this fair branch, like the patriarchs of old, their bread in contentment they eat, unwearied with trouble of silver or gold, or the cares of the grand and the great. With timber and tar they old England supplied, supported her power on the seas. Her battles they fought without having a groat, for the honor of Liberty Tree. But hear, O ye swains, 'tis a tale most profane, how all the tyrannical powers, King Commons and Lords, are uniting amain to cut down this guardian of ours. From the east to the west, blow the trumpet to arms, through the land let the sound of it flee. Let the far and the near all unite with a cheer, in defense of our Liberty Tree. Thank you very much.